But first, a great take gives you 800 points. A good take gives you 400 points. An okay take gives you 200. And a bad take, still empty-handed, still get 0 points. Really, the bad news just continues to flow in from the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo injured his calf last night in a win over the Boston Celtics. The good news is that it doesn't look to be a season ender. He's going to miss the rest of the regular season, as you know. I don't think that surprises any of us. The problem was it was a non-contact injury. He just threw the ball into Damian Lillard, started to jog up the floor, and it looks like something went in his calf. I don't want to speculate on the exact situation what the injury is, but again, the bad news continues to come in from Milwaukee, despite them being the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. So I'll ask you, John Rivera, are the Bucks done? Or are there chances of winning a championship? Is that out of here?
Just like I lead off my show, I'm gonna keep it 1-0-0 at a 0-1,000. Listen, the Bucks season's over, man. Like, it was not even like. They may be top 5, but they not wasn't gonna. Let's be real. Let's be real. They was not gonna win the championship this year. They made a coaching change 30 games in. They got Doc Rivers that got 1 championship in 90 years. Like, the chemistry with Dame and all of them still wasn't meshing anyways. So there wasn't championship bound or winning a championship in general. You know what I'm saying? They had a chance to get there, but was they winning it? No. I would think more people will say they like the other teams other than they like the Bucks. Now, we're talking about the franchise. Like, that's when you got Steve franchise, we talking about the franchise and Giannis. And this is an injury that we've seen before where KD came back in the playoffs and ended up messing it up, missing the season. So why in the hell with anybody, if I'm the owner, I do a Michael Vick, like, nah, I'll roll you out in a wheelchair and everything. Like, no, you're not playing this year, because guess what? We wasn't winning. Let's come back, heal that to next year, man. We finagle the roster some way, somehow, you know what I mean? Get better people. You'll have a whole full year, another year with Dame and the coaching staff, and we come back strong next year. But for this year, let him sit, man. Just let the man sit, let him rest. That's a big boy that like to attack. And like I said, he's a big guy. So that the type of injuries, man, take a while to heal properly. And like I said, 100% Giannis, the chances were slim. So imagine the 75, 80% Giannis is not going to get you a championship this year. So let the man rest. Come back next year, man. Let that man play another 10, 12 years and the right way, you know what I'm saying, and not be injured and worried about that injury lingering.
Yeah, I think that matters. And obviously, we consider the fact that you mentioned the KD thing, and I talked about that on the show today. Like, I am not a doctor, not going to play one on this show, but the only slight difference is a lot of people that hurt their Achilles or tear their Achilles talk about how the first thing he feels like somebody kicked you. Giannis, again, for like KD, when he got injured, he looked back like, hey, what happened? That didn't happen with Giannis, fortunately. So maybe it's a less severe injury. And again, everybody's body's different. We don't know exactly what happened as far as the situation is concerned, but
But the body language was almost the same. Like, he might not look back like KD and Shaq, like they said, like something fell off their leg. But when he felt it, he kind of looked down and went down immediately. Like, so I'm not risking it, man, at all.
No, it was already looking bleak for Milwaukee. And listen, you laid everything out perfectly. We always give bonus points for humor on this show. So, John, great take. Getting you to 1,100 points. I think you're all spot on the money right there. I think, listen, the fit with Giannis and Dame, the Doc coaching chain. Listen, if you're going to fire Adrian Griffin midseason and Doc Rivers is your first thought as far as bringing a new head coach, that was odd. He may be gone at season's end. It's the Bucks continue to move backwards after winning the championship in 2021. So we'll see we'll see what happens with them in the playoffs. But it's not looking that promising. To you, Barry Grant Jr., you've been all over the Doc thing for a while and the Dame Giannis thing for a while. But generally speaking, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm curious anyway. Are the Bucks done, regardless, Giannis healthy, Giannis unhealthy? Well,
I mean, I'm gonna say first off, John said that Giannis was a big guy. First off, you gotta say pause or no Diddy. We gotta put that out there. The first thing, I love John, but you gotta put that out there. The second thing is, you have to. What I'm gonna do is, I am not gonna take his take because I liked his take. He kind of put things out there, but I'm going to take a different approach. I've said this already. The Bucks were done from day one. This was a old roster that got older, that got slower, that they don't really have much versatility. The biggest problem, even outside of the Giannis injury, right, is the fact that the two-man game between him and Dame don't work. Dame is pretty much one-dimensional. Giannis is pretty much one-dimensional. So when you put those guys in a pick and roll situation, it's really easy to be able to stay at home. You know what Dame wants to do. You know what Giannis wants to do. There's no variations to a pick and roll. So that's the struggle that you have, especially when you have a guy like Doc Rivers that doesn't give you much variation on offense anyway. So they were already flawed X and O's wise, strategically wise. They were already a flawed basketball team. Going into the playoffs with a coach that really doesn't do you any favors, they were already going to be behind the 8 ball. Without a Giannis now fully healthy, you're really going to be behind the 8 ball. All the Milwaukee Bucks is right now with not a healthy Giannis is the Portland Trailblazers all over again. So we've seen how far Portland can go with Dame. They didn't really go that far. Of course, they went to the Western Conference Finals at one point, but we already know what happened there, right? So this is what's going on here. They're not designed this season to win in the playoffs. Could they add some pieces in the offseason? They're kind of cap strapped right now. I don't know what they can be able to do. This might be the team going forward for the next year or two, and that doesn't really bode well for them. So I would say no, they were cooked to start.
Yeah, and I'm glad you hit on the thing about Giannis and Dame's fit, because you and I talked about this a couple weeks ago, and you sort of laid out like the two-man game between Giannis and Dame because of their styles of play. Like Dame doesn't really have a good floater or a good mid-range. Giannis is obviously not like a pick and pop type of guy, so and then those components don't really work. And so, listen, the problem with Milwaukee, you talked about them being able to potentially add pieces in the offseason. What assets do they have? I mean, in a situation, they're paying Giannis a lot of money. They're paying Dame a lot, Chris Middleton. So, like, and obviously Middleton has been a shell of himself ever since he got injured 2 years ago. So, it's looking rough. So, Barry, I love the way you took that. Great take as well. Putting you up there, the great takes with John. There's the fit issue. The Doc thing just made it worse. And the fact that they were 30-11 and did fire their head coach told you that there were some other issues beyond just the play on the court that were going to play this team in the long run. And it's just the chickens have come home to roost in the last month or so. So there you go. Finally to Keith Nanda. Keith, looks like we're dealing with some connection issues. Keith, back in here. Are the Milwaukee Bucks, with a healthy Giannis, without Giannis, where the case may be, are they done as a title contender?
Yeah, definitely as a title contender, they're done. I mean, even with Giannis and Damian Lillard, I mean, they're still a notch underneath the Celtics as far as I'm concerned. With Giannis out, they're basically light years away from the Celtics. I mean, you have both of those guys, you probably feel like you have a puncher's chance against the Celtics. But without Giannis, I mean, it's just not going to happen, especially against the Celtics. Maybe you get around. You've seen Dame Lillard, like Barry was saying before. It's almost like the Portland Trailblazers. He's like, he left the Blazers, and now it looks like he's on another team. It's just like the Blazers, where maybe he can get around. I don't know. Maybe I don't even think he could get round 2 without Giannis. Their title chances are totally cooked. The Celtics are the team to beat in the East. Even before that, they were a level, maybe even 2 levels below the Celtics as far as I was concerned. So without Giannis, they're cooked.
Yeah, I agree with all three of you, and I think there's another subplot. Go and put up Keith's total. I'm going to take Keith, get you to 700 points. I think there's a subplot that I've talked about the last couple shows. I think is a very real possibility that if he hasn't already, Giannis will play his final game as a Buck this month. Because I think when you consider, can Milwaukee get that much better? I mean, sure, you can bring a new head coach, but that'd be 4 coaches in 3 years. The Budenholzer thing wore down at the end. Adrian Griffin didn't work. Doc obviously doesn't work. So how attractive of a job is that? Dame's getting older. It's an expensive roster. Barry talked about the age of the roster. The Knicks would love to have Giannis. They have the assets. The Warriors would love to have Giannis. They have the assets. Miami would at least make a push to go get Giannis. I think he looks around the NBA, says, listen, I'm in the prime of my career. Do I want to waste it? Crossing my fingers, everybody stays healthy and that everything comes together. I think that's keep your eye out for that. That could be a potential story. Alberto P in the comments says Giannis to NY. It very well could be the case. Again, they have the asset. The fit with Giannis and Brunson, because Brunson is a 2-dimensional player. He does have a floater. He does have a good package down in the in the mid-range area. That would be fun to watch, and that's absolutely contender.
Pause.
Oh boy.
Pause. No Diddy. Pause. You gotta relax. Package in the mid-range area, you gotta relax. That was crazy. Yo.
What happened to the no Diddy?
Man.
Oh, I hate you guys. I really do.